Hello, hello! My name is Sana, I'm the Authoress in Distress, and today we are going to be talking about beta readers. I am just finishing up my beta reader process and there's so much to talk about. So today's video is going to be all about how to start your beta reader process, because I feel like that's the most common question I get is, what is it? How do I get started? Why do we need it? That whole sort of thing. So we're going to deal with all of that today. Number one, the big point, the first thing I'm going to be dealing with is, what is a beta reader? So a beta reader is somebody that an author gives the book before they give it to an editor. A beta reader is supposed to give the author the opinions of a reader. They're supposed to read the book and help the author figure out what is reader friendly, what isn't, and figure out their demographic and that sort of thing. An author should already have a pretty good idea of their demographic, but it can always help a little bit to hone in on things like that. For example, my book, The Heraldess, I thought that it was going to be a new adult book, but I actually ended up changing that. I ended up changing it to an adult category book because adults more got the nuances of my characters and they got more out of the reading experience. So in doing the beta reader process, it altered a little bit how I even viewed my book. And so that's kind of what you want. You want a reader's opinion so that you can improve on your own project. Wow, so dirty. Alright, now that I can see again, point two is about how to start your beta reader step. How do I find beta readers? What should I draw them in with? What should I tell them about the book? That's what we're going to be doing today, and I'm going to use my book, The Heraldess, as an example. So I made this 8 easy steps to follow. So, step one. Step one is that you should make sure your manuscript is as good as you can get it. It's not going to be perfect, and you're going to tell your beta readers this as they go into it, so they're not expecting a perfected book, but your manuscript should be like legible and organized and the way you want it to be perceived, and the best version of it, so that the feedback that you get is applicable to the next step of your writing process. So you want to make sure your manuscript is the best that it can be. You've read through it a few times. You've caught all the errors you can catch. It's right where you want it to be, or where you know that you, where it is right now. It's not going to be the best it's going to be. Your beta reader is going to help you make it better, but it should be pretty freaking good. Step two is to make a plan. I have this shirt that I thought would be fitting today, and it says, "Cautious today, here tomorrow." It is a quote from a character in She-Ra, Princesses of Power, and my mother made this shirt for me, and it totally embodies my whole life's motto. But anyway, I love making plans, and I think that for the beta reading step, it is really important that you do this step, because you want to know how you want to interact with your betas, and you want to know what steps you're going to have to take each week. So for example, in my beta reader process, I communicated with my betas via phone, like texting, and emails. So I knew that I would need everybody's phone and email when I got them signed up. I also knew that I wanted to do in-text interviews, so that I would have those responses written out in a place so that I would be able to look back at them, as opposed to phone interviews. I also have kind of an anxiety around talking on the phone, so I did in-text interviews instead. So I knew that I would need their phone numbers to do that. And I also knew that I was going to be doing interviews, so I needed to have something to go base my questions off of, so I would need surveys. I decided to go with Google Forms, and it works mighty swell. I didn't have any problems with it. Sometimes it repeats like 2 submissions, but it's not really a problem. You just delete the other one. I don't know. So you just want to know what your ideal beta communication is going to be like, and how you want to go about doing this. Step 3 is to create your beta sign-in form. So you're going to want to have something for the person who wants to be your beta to fill out. Your potential betas need a place to start. So on this form, you're going to want, number 1, the name. First, last, middle if they want to give it, doesn't matter, but you definitely need their first name so that you can have their information in a place and have it under their name. Second, you're going to want their age because you're looking for target demographics, and if you don't have their age, you don't know if they're in your demographic or not, and you're definitely going to want that information. 3, if they have any experience beta reading before, because if they do, then maybe they have preconceived notions about it, maybe they're expecting to not be volunteers, I don't know. But you want to make sure that, like, if they have a positive connotation with beta reading or a negative connotation with beta reading, you really want to know going in. So you want to ask them if they have any experience doing this for anybody else. 4, you want to ask all of their contact information. So I usually ask their phone number, email address, and social media, like favorite social media platform. And then I ask them which one they prefer to be contacted by. That way you kind of have like a preferred mode for each person, and you can mark it down even if you don't end up actually talking to them that way. I had a few betas who were like, I prefer to be emailed, and then we ended up texting the whole time. So it's just a matter of having that in there just in case you do need it. 5, you should ask them about some of their favorite things. So I asked about books, movies, and TV shows, mostly because it gives you a feel for what they're used to reading. So if they are only listing nonfiction things and you're writing a high fantasy book, then you want them to you want to let them know that it's not going to be their normal thing. I did have this a couple times with betas, but I actually find that betas who aren't very well versed in your genre can give you pretty interesting feedback about the way that your book comes across to different demographics and different types of people. For instance, one of my betas doesn't read a ton of fantasy, but she does read a lot of high fantasy, like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, and so she was really interested in the high fantasy aspects of my book, but she also was very interested in the psychology behind my book because she was really into psychology and things like that. So she was able to have a lot more insight than my normal new adult fantasy loving beta reader about those things than those other beta readers did. So she had more of a focus on that, and it really did help in the long run. So don't let this part discourage you, but it also helps you just get to know your betas, get to know who they are, what they like, what they don't like, and yeah, it's an interesting little question. I like knowing things about my betas. So. And then 5, you should ask why they want to do this. Most of the time it's just going to be, I like reading and this seemed fun, and that's totally okay. That's a totally okay response, but you should know, why do you want to do this? What brought you to me? Just to kind of get a feel for why they're here. Okay, step 4 is to put out the call. The biggest question I get is, how do you find beta readers? How do you find them? I don't know. The interwebs. The interwebs is where I found my beta readers. I don't really have a lot of social media, so I just put it on my Facebook and my Instagram, and I got enough hits. Also, you should have a little line in your call that's like, hey, if you know anybody who would be interested in this, just send it to them. Even if you sign up, you can always drop out. In your call for your betas, you should include the name of your book, what it's about, what you need people to do. You should tell them what a beta reader is, because a lot of people don't know just from the name. I made that mistake. But yeah, you should tell them that they're volunteering, they're not going to be paid for it. And then you should include your genre and age demographic and things that you're looking for. And then probably the most important part is you should include trigger warnings, content warnings, because some betas could be triggered by things that are in your book, and you don't want them to have to go through any traumatic experiences while reading it. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you have all of that in there so that they can know what it's about and they know what they're getting into. Also, you should have a link on where to contact you for more information. I just said down in the comments, and also you can email me, and I listed my email address. That way they have multiple ways to contact you if it's something that they don't want to do publicly, and you can also tell them to DM you on whatever social media platform you're working on. Okay, number 5 is wait for the betas to roll in. This might be slow going. You are definitely going to have to post these things more than once, unless you're like super popular already and people are just dying to read the book. I don't know. I'm not, so as a debut indie author from the middle of nowhere, so I had to post this multiple times and remind people constantly that I was looking for this. And it's slow going for sure, but you should allot probably about a month for people to apply and be filtering through them as they come in, and you should aim higher than the amount of beta readers that you want. So if you want to, by the end of this book, have 15 beta readers, you should aim for at least, I would say, 5 to 8 more than that, because people drop out. Lots of people drop out, especially if it's a long book. So just be aware of that. Number 6, sort through all of your betas and send out your information. So in your call for betas, you kind of gave them the bare bones about what you were looking for and what your book is about, how it was going to work and everything. But when you pick your betas, your 5 to 8 extras, that sort of thing, once you have the whole group, you want to send out, I sent out an email. It was the longest email I sent out, and I told them that in the first line, this is the longest email I'm going to send out, but I need you to read it because it tells you exactly what's going to happen in the beta reading process. So I'll tell you what mine said. Okay, so the first thing you should deal with is what you need from your betas. So clarify that you don't need them to edit the book, you just need them to read it as a reader. I found that a few betas did not read this line and tried to edit their way through the book, but it distracts from them being a reader. You don't need an editor, you need a reader. So yeah, just clarify that right off the bat, that you were looking for reader opinions. Readerly opinions, I don't need you to edit it. Point number 2, clarify how long the process will take. Do the math. I had 27 chapters. I was giving them two a week, so it took a while. And I actually forgot to put this into my original email, so I got a lot of questions about it. So just make sure that you have it in there kind of towards the top so that they know how long that they're going to be doing this. Point 3, how the system will work. Now I'm going to bring my laptop into frame because I'm not going to remember all these points, and I'm just going to read from it, okay? Sorry. When will you send stuff out? How will they give you feedback? Will you have an interview with them? Are you doing interviews? That sort of thing. Some people don't like to do interviews, and you're allowed to do that, whatever. Do you, bro? And what are the due dates? So I had mine due on Wednesdays because I thought that it would put the weekend right in the middle so that they would have time and I wouldn't have so many people submitting, and I wouldn't have people submitting on the day of, but it didn't really work out for me. So I recommend that you do a Monday to Monday dispersal method if you're doing once a week, that you're giving them chapters. And then you should also include the best ways to contact you and basically every way to contact you. So email, phone number, Instagram DM, like just any way that they could possibly want to contact you that you would be okay with. Give them that information all in one place so that they can hold on to that email and just have it. Next, you should include rules and recommendations. My examples were that I wanted detailed answers. Don't leave any answers, like questions, blank. I don't care if they're repetitive, copy and paste them. It's not all that hard. If you already answered a question, copy paste the answer from that question into this new question, because it can get a little repetitive if somebody's already like took one question to mean something and then put it, that question comes up later. It can be repetitive. So just copy and paste it, put it into this. It was something I had to talk about later because I noticed that betas were leaving questions blank, and when you're looking at 13 different people's opinions and in like a list form, I'm not going to reference back. Yes? Yes. I'm so sorry. You're fine. You brought me muffin.
Both a muffin.
You brought me muffin. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry.
You're fine. I love you. I got a muffin. That's delightful. Oh my gosh. Yay. Okay, let's wrap this up so I can eat my muffin. So, another rule that you might want to talk about is profanity and things like that. I basically tell my betas, like, curse however much you want. I curse in my book. I don't really care. You're adults, I'm an adult, it's fine. Talk however you want to talk. You can reference memes, you can reference other books, it doesn't matter, it's only for me, so as long as we both understand what you're talking about, then you're good. Lastly, you want to iterate that if they want to drop out at any point, they can. But you also want to put an emphasis on the fact that they should tell you first, okay? Because just disappearing off the face of the earth is not very kind, so just let them know, hey, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, just tell me that you can't do it anymore. You don't even have to give me an excuse, it's fine. It could just be you don't like the book, but just tell me if you're going to stop. If you want to stop this process at any point. It could be literally right before the last chapter, and you giving me any feedback at all is helpful, and you shouldn't feel bad about dropping out about it, basically. Make sure that that door is open so that they never feel trapped in doing this or obligated to keep going. Number 7, make a list or somehow put all of your beta's contact information, names, all of their information in one place so that you have it. This is a step that was really tedious for me, but I am so thankful I had it, because when I lost somebody's email or I needed to remember, like, okay, what are they used to reading, why are they reading it like this, then I was able to go back and just look at the little dossier that I had put up for all of my betas and just see exactly the information I had on them. And you can keep a running update. So like for me, I had in the farthest column to the right, I had whether they were in my demographic or not and what made them in my demographic or not. And then eventually, because I changed my core demographic from new adult to adult, I had to go back and change all of those because they were no longer accurate to what I was looking for, and meant that who I put in my original target demographic no longer fit into that category. So yeah, just make sure that you have all of their information in one place so that you don't have to keep flipping back and forth between 1,000 different tabs to find everybody's information and stuff. Alright, and number 8, the last step, is to start doing the thing you plan to do in step 2. So in step 2, you made a plan, you had your ideas, you knew how this was going to work, you knew when you were going to disperse chapters, you knew what was going to happen after they submitted their chapter surveys, you knew how you wanted to do their interviews. So now you just have to, as the feedback rolls in, you have to start implementing those things. It takes a lot of determination to keep going some days. So a lot of the times when I got a survey back from, or a questionnaire back from a beta reader, I would contact them and be like, hey, I saw that you submitted this. Are you free tomorrow to do an interview? Because it gives me enough time to read through their questionnaire, see if I have any real questions, see if there are any questions that I wish I had put on there, and then compile all of those so that I'm ready for their interview when the time comes. It also gives me enough time to mentally prepare myself for anything they say, and also if they say something that infuriates me, I'm able to calm down before I have to speak with them. So I highly recommend at least scheduling them for like a day in advance, or at least, like if you get it in the morning, then at least in the evening, so that you're giving yourself plenty of time to mentally sort through all of it, because it is a very trying process. And that brings me to the end of this video, but it's a great segue to talk about what we're going to be doing next week. So next week we are going to be talking about the truth about the beta process, the truth about beta reading and being an author, going through this whole step, because there are definitely things that I wish that people had told me. Even if you've been through it, I know that it would be really nice if I could see that some other author felt the exact same way about this step that I did. So we are going to be talking about all of the feels next week, so stay tuned for that. If you do want to keep up to date on my authoring journey and my chaotic, distressing life, just leave a little thumbs up and hit that subscription button, and you will see me next time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, debates, fears, anxieties, bad stuff, issues, complaints, irritations, leave them down there in the comment section. I'm Sana, I'm the Authoress in Distress. This has been my video about beta reading. It is a necessary step. Please do it. And if you have any questions, leave them down there and we'll talk about them. I am posting every Thursday, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!